I'm super excited to see everybody here. I'm going to be reading from my presenter notes, so I'm not going to see what's happening in the chat for a little bit. Try my best to go back and forth, or if Donnie wants to call some things out, feel free to write any questions you have in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end. There's a Q&A that I've set some time aside for, so if you think of some questions, feel free to put it down. You don't got to wait until the end. So with that, let's get into it. So my name is Deshaun Ballard, and I am an avid Solana supporter, but at the end of the day, blockchain technology supporter. And what I want to talk about today is unleashing your inner Web3 product manager and how you can leverage a product manager's mindset, habits, and tools to gain an edge. You know, my goal with today is to introduce you all to the mindset, the habits, and tools of a successful PM to help you bring your vision and projects to life, understand the benefits of a product manager's mindset, to help you build Solana products your users will love. You know, I've seen firsthand the challenges that founders in this ecosystem face when trying to navigate their journeys of building their own great products. So I want to share my insights and experiences to help you garner a bit of an advantage or to avoid a pitfall or two so that you can effectively maximize your resources and realize your goal while building on Solana, right? So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a little introduction as to who I am, what I've done, what I'm up to. Then, what is a product manager? Followed by thinking like a product manager, understanding and talking to your users. And I'll leave you with some actionable tips for all you Solana founders and builders out there, as well as leaving some space at the end for any questions and answers. So with that, let's jump into it. So once again, I am Deshaun Ballard. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, United States. And now I live in Baltimore, Maryland with my amazing girlfriend, Precious. And I'm the oldest of 5 really cool siblings. In the past, I've interned with Microsoft to help launch things like the Surface Pro, Windows 8, Office 365, and other things. I got that internship by the way of a program that partnered with companies such as those. So it was a really cool experience. And I've done a lot of things in my life, such as outside sales for large internet companies, 1&1. If you're familiar with that company, I think it's a European or German-based company at the time. I've done IT for nonprofit. I've done marketing. I've at one point was a freelance iOS developer. And I am also a business owner and a founder. So a lot of different hats, a lot of different experiences. And through that, you know, I've garnered 7 years, I think over 7 years of product management and leadership experience, leading teams that are globally distributed. And a fun fact about me, I was a stunt extra in a Batman film. So that was a really cool experience, and I really enjoyed that part of my life. So yeah, that's me as a person. And one thing I did forgot to mention was, you know, I've been really an observer of the crypto landscape since about 2011, when I saw Bitcoin on the news one day in college. So ever since then, I've been keeping my eye on it, getting more and more interested into the field. And I can actually tell you how I ended up becoming, you know, a person that worked at Metaplex, leading developer experience. I was starting to make that jump into Web3 more so. I was a contributing core member to Developer DAO over mostly in the Ethereum ecosystem, but you know that DAO welcomes all chains. And as I was doing that, I knew I wanted to move more full-time into the world of Web3. I just loved it, couldn't get enough. And it was funny, you know, my dad was actually like, you should make an NFT. And I was like, what is that? And so me being the curious person that I am, I dug so deep into this rabbit hole of the world of NFTs and what they were able to do and unlock for artists, creators, etc. And ultimately, that passion and curiosity led me to, a little place called Metaplex. So from there, I ended up joining and leading the developer experience team again. And that team, I oversaw our Sugar CLI, oversaw the whole of our documentation, transforming it from the mess that it was to, a more cohesive experience, leading and creating our developer support initiative. So if you ever got help in the Discord, or if you ever were a company or a partner, I was the person who created a more business focused support environment for those partners. And I also oversaw our JavaScript, iOS, and Kotlin SDKs, and all of our lower level developer tools like Solida, Shank, etc. And some of the things that I was really proud of, during my time at Metaplex was, Solana Mobile, they use the Android library that, I led the work on. I didn't do, but, working with Marco, I think who's actually at Solana Mobile now. They use that technology for their Minty Fresh app, and that was super cool to learn. Dust Labs used, our CLI Sugar, which led to a stable release of 1.0 stable release to reveal and burn the tubes to reveal the Utes. Our JavaScript SDK, I led that to 300,000 downloads in 6 months from zero. Super proud of this. I was able to get Alchemy and Third Web over on Solana, so that was really cool to see that from idea to actually them launching that support. And then lastly, super proud of this. We were able to get the 8th largest contributor growth on all of GitHub in 2022. And that was reported in the GitHub official Octaverse State of Open Source back in 2022 report. And we were able to be featured alongside Microsoft, Hashlips, Remix, the Ethereum ID. So I say all of that to say lots of experience, lots of fun stuff, really love Solana. Excuse me. And yeah, let's get further into it. So what am I doing now? Right now, working on a passion project, started up a little thing called Liberty Cap Labs. We're a small team of builders on Solana. We've built an unreleased raffle protocol that will power some really cool projects. And we're also building some cool and useful open source components to help further the ecosystem and more. So that's a little bit about, me as a person, my background, what I'm up to. And I hope that gives you a little bit of idea of, who's giving you this information a day and why you might want to consider it. So with that, let's get into the first thing I wanted to talk about. What is a product manager? I'm sure some of you may know, but some of you may not know. But even if you do know, I want to emphasize this, what a product manager is not, right? So at the base of it, a product manager is not a dictator. A product manager should not simply dictate what will get built without input from others. They need to collaborate across multiple functions. And they are not the CEO of the product. I don't know what blog posts you might have read that have mentioned this or videos you might have watched, but the CEO is the CEO of the product. PMs do provide leadership, but the role doesn't have complete authority. So product managers have to know how to navigate and garner influence rather than command people to do things. And then lastly, a product manager is not a project manager nor a product owner. While product managers do manage roadmaps and what features are coming down the pipeline, they also focus more on strategy and problem solving at a higher level rather than just coordinating a project and ticking off tasks in Jira, Linear, etc. And some other things that I wanted to mention: a product manager is not a designer, even though they work closely with design, and sometimes they do know how to use Figma, have a design background. Product managers aren't engineers or coders, even though, a lot of us do have a technical background and can, create a thing or two. And lastly, a product manager is not a customer support team. While we do analyze user feedback and provide garner some insight from our users, we don't directly provide that end user support as you would from a support ticket, which would typically be handled by a dedicated support team. So with that, now that you know what a product manager is not, let's talk about what a product manager is. And I'm gonna make sure this makes sense for all of you as to like why this benefits you as a founder and builder on Solana. So first, what a product manager is. They are an advocate for the user and the company's needs. So they balance both of those things in tandem to make great products and features and, updates to the products that they're working on. Next, they are visionaries who set the product's future plans, what's coming down the road in terms of the strategy as well, which is an essential responsibility of the PMs. Next, they are a cross-functional teammate who drives impact. And with that, they have to collaborate across teams and they have to drive meaningful impact with the features that they're working on or the products as a whole that they're working on, or maybe even they're responsible for the revenue of said things, which are also very key qualities of PM. So let's touch on some other things that they are as well while we're here. They're prioritizers. They make difficult prioritization decisions on product features and trade-offs, and they focus on, the things that deliver the highest value to the team and the company. They are problem solvers. They identify problems facing users, the business, and they help drive those solutions through creative thinking. They are a communicator. Product management connects different groups such as engineering, design, leadership, legal, etc. And they facilitate this alignment through clear communication. And so with that, I want to move on next to, how all these things come together and what it actually means to start thinking like a product manager, now that you know what it's not and what it is. So when it comes to thinking like a product manager, this is where it starts to be useful as a builder on Solana for you to leverage in order to build a better product, either before you build it, while you're building it, or after you've already built this. There's something to learn for everybody. So with thinking like a PM, what does that mean? It's simply leveraging certain characteristics like empathy for your users and risk taking, as well as forming new habits to drive impact, which can be revenue, user growth, etc. And these habits can be the difference in a new product or company's success or failure, right? So with that, things that can impact that success or failure is putting users first in all decisions and discussions that you may have, right? How does it affect them, or how does it affect the company as well at the end of the day? Taking a broad view of the market landscape and competitive forces. Who's out there doing what, creating what, and do we have an opportunity to disrupt or capitalize off of this XYZ? Lastly, they are about using data to support decisions, but also from time to time trusting your instincts. So analytics and insights are great, but sometimes nothing can beat that gut feeling that you just know this thing is right to be built at this time and that you should go for it. So it's definitely a balance. Other things that can contribute to thinking like a product manager is being comfortable with ambiguity or the unknown. Next is mastering the building, measuring, and learning cycle, right? Next is better managing trade-offs. Should we do this or that? And why should we do this or that? And how do I know that? And then one of my favorite things is downstream thinking. Downstream thinking is essentially, what decision do I make today, or how does the decision that I make today impact other things that are in play currently and or later? Will this create tech debt that we have to solve for later? Will this be a trade-off in terms of latency or speed for our user experience versus, getting this out the door so we can be first to market? Do we have the resources to do X, Y, Z? Right? So it's so cool to just, be in this very strategic position to be able to pull all of this together and get something across the finish line, right? And so next, what I'm going to tell you is, after I've introduced you to, how a product manager think and what that looks like, is why you should think about adopting this mindset, right? So ultimately, by flexing and training that muscle and forming those new habits, it makes you a better builder, founder, and leader. So that's why. But you don't have to take my word for it. McKinsey and Co. is a global management consultant firm who everybody works with. They said that, product management is emerging as the new training ground for future tech companies or future tech CEOs. And I wanted to just point out some notable CEOs who used to be founders in both Web 2 and in Web 3, specifically Solana. So Google's CEO, Microsoft's, and Yahoo's former CEO were all product managers. And in Solana, you had Metaplex's CEO, you have CrossMint's co-founder and CEO, and one of the co-founders from Degenerate Ape Academy, who now is the CEO of Proof of Peach. They all were product managers as well, right? So it's super cool to see people, take that background and build something that's super unique to the ecosystems that they serve and products that people love, right? So with that, the why, I want to talk a little bit about, how, or once you actually start to adopt this way of thinking and see the benefits of it, this is one of the most, important levers that you can pull as, a founder or a builder who adapts the product management mindset. All of the things that I've talked about so far set you up for this course of action that will give you such an advantage, or might change the way you see how you're building your product, or, before you even build it, what you should be looking into or thinking about. And that lever that we should be pulling at this stage is essentially understanding and talking with your users. So let's get into that next. So what I want to talk about is why understanding your users is critical. So we have the background information, we're in position, we have the mindset, we know who we are, we know what we're doing, we know what we're building. Now let's see how the outside world feels about that and if they may be a user of ours or not. So why understanding your user is critical is because if you don't understand your user, you may miss the mark on your user's core needs. And that can lead to you building features or an entire product that they don't care about, nor will they use or adopt. So you're ultimately wasting, development, just resources overall. Excuse me. Next, you may not design it the right way. The things you build may fulfill that core need that the user has. Excuse me. But it may leave them with a frustrating or poor user experience that causes them to seek out your competitor. I don't know about you, but There have been so many times where I've tried products that get me to the end state that I desire to be in, or create the thing that I need to create, or give me or provide the information that I need provided, but it sucks to use and it's frustrating. So I'm right back on Google or so, searching for another solution that offers the same value. And you don't want to be in that position. And then lastly, your messaging can miss its mark. So you can build a product that your users need or may have not known that they needed, and you can design it the right way that evokes a delightful experience to use. But if your messaging and positioning miss its mark, your users may never realize what the value of your product is, or that it's even for them and it's going to solve their need. So just a quick story. Back in my time at Metaplex, right? We offer a lot of solutions and tools and products for developers, very technical people. But leadership, rightfully so, we all recognize that there was, a vast majority of people who weren't technical, but they wanted to create and release NFT collection, or simply NFTs that weren't collections, things of that nature. They wanted to create these NFTs, but they didn't have the technical know-how, nor did they have the resources to garner the help of somebody who had the technical experience. Or maybe they did, but they ultimately got scammed. So what that resulted in, with understanding the needs of these people, artists and creators, was that we would create a no-code, very user-friendly interface and experience that would take all of the powerful NFT creation technologies and products that we have and wrapping it around that particular experience, fulfilling their need, and promoting and marketing it in a way that it resonates with them, so they know that that's the value that they'll get out of it at the end of the day. And that's ultimately how Metaplex's Creator Studio was born. And I know from the other side of the coin with the developers as well, there was, with regards to our JavaScript SDK, it was great. The first one was terrible, was bad. So, it was decided to make a second version, which took off, right? And it was great. A lot of people loved it and used it. But what they didn't love was that you had to download and install every module that came a part of that SDK. So if you wanted one specific thing, you had to wait forever and be subject to the experience of, all of these other modules that you could care less about. So we started to have conversations as to how we can, make this a better user experience by providing only the module or set of tools that that given developer needed, so they can experience, work with it, or tinker with it right away without the need of anything else. So that's what, understanding your users can be beneficial for, right? A better product and a better business at the end of the day. And so I wanted to talk to you about, how can you actually go about this? How can you understand your users? So understanding your users, there's a few tools that you can do. One, you can create a user persona of your ideal user, which is essentially just a template of who your user is as a person. Where do they spend their time? What are they interested in? What they don't like? What they might look like? What sort of education level they might have? What sort of income level they might have? And you get to burn that image into your mind, so that when you're making your product, you can map all three of those things: their needs, the things they like to experience design wise, and what messaging speaks to them super well. Next, prior to you even building your project, you can make mock-ups and map out your user's user journey step by step, from the first email they get, or discovering an ad for your product, and how they go through the sign up process, traversing through the app, all the way to, interacting with submitting a transaction, regardless of what that looks like. And then from there, you can survey your users. You can send out these surveys and start to gather this insightful qualitative insight that, allows you to get the reaction for certain things that you might be doing, or you might do in the future, or that you might have done. And then lastly, you can make use of a lot of on-chain data in traditional product analytics as to build a story as to how these people might be interacting with protocols that might be similar to yours, dApps that might be similar to yours, whether they might be on other blockchains and it's something that's similar to yours, and see how they're leveraging and using it, where they might be dropping off at, where they might be spending a lot of their time at. And you can use things such as Flipside Crypto, Dune Analytics, and then you can mock things up with Figma or Whimsical or Miro, and then you can send these forms and surveys with Typeform or Google Form, etc. Right? So those are powerful tools and insights that you can garner to better understand your user. But now, outside of understanding them, another important thing is talking to them. And I want to talk about how you can talk with your users. So a few things that you can do, or several things that you can do, is conduct user interviews, either in a one-on-one setting or as a group. And through that, you can start to understand, how users feel about your product, or how they feel about your messaging or branding or XYZ. These tools and strategies can allow you to garner insight that data alone won't tell you, right? So data is just part of the story, but it doesn't give you the full picture. Marrying these two things is a great combination. It's like cookies and milk, well, for me. So next, you can establish feedback channels so they can reach out, a chat widget, support tickets on Discord, an email simply, or as simple as opening your DMs on Twitter. Who knows? But as long as these people can reach out and inform you of things, it's great. And then you can monitor and join in on social media, whether it be a topic that's around your industry or your particular vertical, or products or interests that your users might be interested in. Let them know that you're an authority and that you have a passion for that topic and space, right? I think it's always cool to get that interaction from whomever I might be interested in as a consumer, and see those things or entities that I am consuming in those conversations and spaces that I'm in. And then lastly, you can, meet them where they are. That could be social media, conversations through there, IRL, at, a breakpoint event or a hacker house, etc., or a rave. I have no idea. And then you can, just have town halls in Discord, or just chat with them one-on-one in the channels that you set up for casual conversation, etc. So the thing that I want to finish off with is tools that you can leverage to do all those things is, Dialect for your community conversations, SolarPlex for, creating forums and conversations around that. Always love shouting out Solana products, Discord gated channels, Twitter, Intercom for your website, Drift for your website, which are like chat agents or, support channels, Zendesk, etc. And then after this, what I want to do is sort of wrap things up. I'm going to start to wrap things up by giving you some actionable tips for all you, founders out there building on Solana, or just builders in general. So with that, here are some tips for you that you can definitely implement today. One, you have to get comfortable with presenting and marketing, period. If you're a shy person or more of a reserved person and you don't have the resources to have somebody on your team tell the story, share the story, you have to step into that role, be more visible, and let people know that you're here and what you're up to and what you have going on that'll solve XYZ problem or need that they have. Next, if you're not a solo founder, you can always take an opportunity to reinforce your project's vision to your team as often as possible. If you have a weekly meeting or a quarterly meeting, etc. The thing about that is I've been in companies and have worked with companies where there are people who don't know what the company's ultimate goal is, right? What they want to become in the future, what they want to achieve in the future. And that disconnect leads to poor features and products. It can lead to misalignment when coming to communicate with users by setting the wrong expectations or asking the wrong questions. So as much as possible, get your vision out there and get people aligned to it so they know. Next, don't blindly copy features or popular paradigms in the space. You know, there are so many things that are working well for particular companies because they have the infrastructure or the right network or the right amount of funding to make these things work as well as they do. And so for you, as long as you stick to your vision and your mission and, you know, believe in what you're doing, you don't need to, you know, kind of follow the hype to create great products, right? Next, don't build more than you have to. Definitely learn to collaborate. So that can mean, you know, if you have this idea and there's an open source repo out there for you to like pull in and just maybe tweak, do it. If there is a project that is closed source, but may be able to, you know, contribute to the infrastructure through some sort of, you know, business deal or et cetera, reach out to them and see. If it's not a super proprietary idea or, you know, feature or et cetera, that you wouldn't mind having a combined force on, try your hand at it, see what can happen. The worst thing that can happen is they say no, and you have to build it on your own at the end of the day. So those are my tips. Those are my insights, and you know, the things that I really wanted to share with you today as to how being product manager mindset can be beneficial for you all. So the thing that I want to do now is just, you know, open up the floor for questions and answers. And before we get into that, you know, for me, if there's not enough time here today, you can always mention me or DM me on Twitter at Deshaun Ballard, or feel free to sign up for my free office hours, which are every Tuesday at this time. I mean, for now, because I just want to give back and help people in the ecosystem because I love Solana. I love the innovation that's happening here and what people are trying to do. I've worked with or have given feedback to products like Dialect, Marinade Finance, Olaplex, Marginfi, Code in their Code wallet, Matchday, Night Market, Cleanosaurus, Lancer, Proof of Peach, and more, so many more. I talk to founders every day and I love it. So feel free to reach out. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and we can get into a conversation. And yeah, I hope this was insightful.